Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Muslims Uncensored with me, Robert Carter, and the spiritual leader of Muslims here in the UK. That's saying a bit, I'm going a bit over the top there, but Roshan Saleh, very well respected member of the community. We are going to discuss a lot that's been going on, but before we do, we'll just clarify a few things because obviously Muslims Uncensored hasn't been around for a couple of weeks, despite the fact that all hell is breaking loose across the UK and even things are escalating in the Middle East. Where have we been? We'll answer that now. Roshan, do you want to start off?
Yeah,
Where have you been? What are you doing?
I went to the Middle East for about 10 days,
Okay.
and I won't specify the location just in case. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a bit waware of giving locations out these days
That's mysterious,
with all the
yeah.
death threats and the
Mossad
guided
active.
missiles. Yeah, exactly.
Flying overhead.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I was in the Middle East, alhamdulillah, for about 10 days. Not Dubai. I don't go
Okay.
to Dubai.
Okay,
Just
fine.
have a boycott of Dubai.
That
But
makes
alhamdulillah, lovely being in a Muslim country, lovely having nice weather, mosques on every corner, you know, people who aren't crazy and into all this fahisha. I mean, the Muslim world isn't perfect. We all know that. I'm not blind to that, but it was just beautiful being there. And I think that, you know, the people who can, they should spend as much time in the Muslim world as possible.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
and we all needed a break, didn't we? I think we were burnt out after the election, so we needed a break. But obviously, while we were on that break, as you say, all hell broke loose. There was the Manchester airport incident,
Oh yeah,
the
goodness.
Palestine in flames,
Yeah.
Bangladesh. Now we have these riots.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was, even though I was on the break, one eye was still on the news. Yeah.
Yeah,
What about you?
absolutely.
What did you do?
Well, while you were sunning yourself wherever you were in the Middle East, I was here with my family because we've just had a blessing in the household. My third child has
Alhamdulillah,
been,
Mabruk.
alhamdulillah, delivered healthy and happy, alhamdulillah. So that's the reason I've been away,
Yeah.
trying to deal with family
And we
stuff.
did give you time off, paternity leave, didn't we?
Well, yeah, I think I'm entitled to it.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
so yeah, you did.
And I
give
didn't
me-
even make you feel guilty, did I?
Well, you did towards the end, but that's fine because I think that's justifiable given everything that's been going on. But that's basically the reason, brothers and sisters. You know, I've had serious things going on in personal life. I'd appreciate your thoughts and prayers, of course, with the arrival of a new child, my first son, of course. So Abu Nuh is how I may be known going forward. But Roshan, I don't know. He's been swanning about doing whatever he's doing in the Middle East. So you can think of that what you will. Let's get into it now, Roshan. I don't want to know about your tour of the Middle East. I want to know about what's going on here.
Yes.
The fact is that the far right have mobilized. They're rioting. They're attacking people. They're attacking buildings. There's fires. Cars are being flipped over. This has all stemmed from the incident that took place in Southport, where there was a horrific attack on a nursery. Several children were killed, a knife attack. And what happened was far right mouthpieces on social media began peddling the usual misinformation that they always tend to do. They jumped to the conclusion, oh, it was definitely a Muslim. It was definitely someone who just came off a dinghy boat from the English Channel. Apparently, all these types of things were swirling around, whipping up public sentiment and anger at a time when emotions were very high. We now know that that wasn't the case at all, that actually the attacker was a 17-year-old kid from Wales. I think his ancestry was from somewhere in Africa, Rwanda, a Christian family background. So no link to Islam or Muslims at all in this horrific attack. However, that hasn't stopped what's been going on. Things have escalated and the far right is mobilizing. I'll play out some footage while we react to this, just to give you a taste. Everyone's seen it, I'm sure, about what's been going on. But Roshan, just react to this, because obviously we've been trying to keep up with the news as it's been unfolding for the past couple of days, and it just seems to be getting worse and worse.
Yeah, brazen attacks on Muslims, on immigrants. I mean, literally surrounding, just yesterday in Rotherham, surrounding an immigrant hotel. Obviously, mosques being besieged, the one in Southport, I think the one in Sunderland as well. You know, blatant racist and Islamophobic slogans being chanted by these far-right violent thugs. Alhamdulillah, we have seen Muslims willing to defend themselves and their places of worship, as we will do. Obviously, we're not looking for violence, but if someone attacks us, we will defend our places of worship. We will defend ourselves. Police being attacked, property being damaged. I mean, I'm not surprised. I think obviously the far right and the mainstream as well, their backers in the mainstream have been whipping up this climate of hate against Muslims in particular, but also against immigrants. And obviously a lot of immigrants are Muslims themselves, genuine refugees and asylum seekers. And I think now a lot of them are running for cover now. They're like, oh no, we condemn the violence. People like Nigel Farage, we condemn the violence. Tommy Robinson, no, don't be violent. You know, and many others. Suella Braverman, I can name so many people, even Andrew Tate, we'll get on to many people who have whipped up this climate of hate and tension against Muslims in particular, but also immigrants. And now they're saying we condemn the violence. That will not wash. You don't get to have a free pass. You don't get to whip up, you know, tension against us for years and years and years. And then when it breaks out into violence and police get attacked, Muslims get attacked, mosques get attacked, property is damaged, etc., you don't get to run to cover. No, you have to be held accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen footage coming in allegedly showing incidents like a mob which resembles like a pogrom. It's like an anti it's like a racist pogrom, something you'd see, I don't know, like elsewhere in the world, in the third world somewhere. They're like checking people's cars for their skin color. If you're white, they let you through. If you're not, if you're Asian or black, they might stop you and attack your car. Obviously, as you say, we've seen mosques targeted. They're damaging property, fires, cars being flipped over, and it looks to me as if they're basically hunting down foreigners.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like to me. And we've seen cases of physical violence on people who are, you know, don't appear to be white English. I mean, how scary is this, Roshan? I mean, how bad is this? Because, you know, people, I think.
Well, I think the government and the police, they've lost control of the streets. And Keir Starmer, I think we might see a clip of Keir Starmer a bit later. But if they're true to their word that they're going to crack down on this, then we need to be saying not just the foot soldiers being arrested, but we need to see the instigators being arrested. Tommy Robinson, first and foremost. That guy needs to be in cuffs. Maybe we can hear a bit from Keir Starmer.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll talk about the instigators after this. Obviously, this has been going on for days now. It's been getting worse and worse and worse. The situation is unfolding, and the Prime Minister has finally responded. And here are some of his comments aimed at the rioters and those who have been inciting it online.
Those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law. The police will be making arrests. Individuals will be held on remand. Charges will follow, and convictions will follow. I guarantee you will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online and then running away themselves. This is not protest. It is organised, violent thuggery.
So obviously he speaks a bit more about this, but he not only condemned the rioters there, but he also made the comments about online inciters. So I mean, who's he talking about there, Roshan? I think it's pretty.
Well, I think he's talking about Tommy Robinson in particular, because obviously he just fled the country, didn't he? He's in Cyprus now, in a 5-star hotel, just literally laughing at his own, not just at Muslims and immigrants, but at his own supporters who are gullible enough to fund his luxurious lifestyle, where he takes no responsibility. But look at him, look how healthy he looks. He's tanned, he's probably just been to the gym. You know, he's living the life of Riley, isn't he? While instigating riots in this country. That guy needs to be in cuffs. He needs to be arrested. What he's doing online is incitement. He is instigating riots and violence. If he ever comes back to this country, he needs to be stopped at the border and arrested immediately. But quite frankly, Britain, I believe, has an extradition treaty with both Cyprus and Spain, where I think he lives. We need to see an arrest being made very soon. This guy needs to be in cuffs. We need to see him bundled into a police van. We need to see him charged and in jail. He needs to be off the streets.
I think it's interesting. Well, before we comment anymore, let's hear from the horse's mouth, because he's now claiming, as you say, online, that he has never called, he's never incited, he's never called for violence. He's actually a voice for peace. That's basically what he's trying to claim. Let's hear an example of the comments that he was making whilst the violence was unfolding.
Get them out of them hotels. Get them gone. Put them on boats and send them back. Okay? They shouldn't be here. They're endangering the safety of our families. Men will rise up. They're always going to rise up. They have to rise up to defend their families. You've brought this war on our shores. Stop the boats.
How would you describe that?
Look, It's obviously incitement. I think let's take a step back for a second. Britain is a country in decline, Robert. We all know it. Every single one of us knows it. We can see it when we go to the shops and we're getting ripped off left, right, and centre in our shopping, our petrol, accommodation. We are living much worse than our parents lived and our grandparents lived in every single way. Salaries are not matching inflation. They're not matching rising prices. British society is falling apart. It's lost its anchors. I would say because of the radical atheists, the gender activists, the liberal lefties who have systematically destroyed our religious values and our moral values in this country. And what we are seeing now, with the Britain is in decline, is people looking for a scapegoat. And that scapegoat are people who look differently and talk differently to them. Muslims, immigrants. But it's not our fault. Where are the immigrants? You know, the immigrants are not taking your women. They're not taking your jobs. The people that are taking your jobs and your women, or maybe not your women, but your jobs and your lifestyle and your values are indigenous British people in power. The politicians who are only in it for themselves, and the lobby groups that fund them, you know, who lead us into these crazy, dangerous, bankrupting wars abroad, which serve no purpose whatsoever, only make people hate Britain. The financiers, I would say the Zionists, who are literally dragging us into a war in a foreign country that serves no purpose for the British people. These are the people to blame for your downfall, not poor immigrants and Muslims. Frankly, if you got rid of all the Muslims, the NHS would collapse. Public services would collapse in this country. And this country needs immigration. It's an aging population. We need young people to come and work to pay the taxes, to fund the older people, you know. So this country needs immigration.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone who says it should be uncontrolled immigration, because obviously that does impinge on the cohesiveness of a society. But we don't have uncontrolled immigration in this country. We have very strict controls on immigration. It's all scaremongering, Robert, and ultimately, enough is enough. You know that the right wing, their slogan is enough is enough. I say enough is enough. Yeah. Enough is enough, this climate of hate that the mainstream politicians are engendering, and specifically organizations like GB News and Talk TV, who should lose their TV licenses. You know, all these mainstream commentators that we see everywhere, the Tommy Robinson in suits that I call them, enough is enough. They need to be shut down as well.
Absolutely. Now, let me just speak from an alternative perspective, because obviously I am white English as well as being a Muslim. You know, I could easily walk into one of these far right demos and wouldn't be.
You did a few weeks ago.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know, I'm unique in that perspective. A lot of the things that these types say is that, you know, Muslims are coming here, not integrating, and they're a threat to the British way of life. Immigration, these foreigners, basically they are a threat, and that if allowed to continue the way it is, they will destroy this country. And so in their ignorant little mindset, their narrative that they've been pushed on that's been pushed on them is that they are defending themselves from a threat. This is how they will justify their racism and their violence. But the fact of the matter is that if you want to talk about a threat, I mean, it's not Muslims going out there smashing up Greggs. It's not Muslims going out there trying to burn down hotels. It's not Muslims going out there that are destroying the economy as well. This is far right white people that's doing that right now. And I mean, often what will happen is when a Muslim comes back and tries to have a dialogue with these people, they'll say, no, you're a liar. You are a liar. Muslims lie. It's in their books. They lie to disbelievers in order to take over and, you know, force Islam on us. But who's a liar here? I mean, what they said about Leeds after the riots there started a couple of weeks ago, straight away they were being told by the same individuals, oh, it's Muslims rioting in Leeds. It turned out, no, it was actually Christian Romanians who were rioting. And now we know that Muslims actually mobilized to save the community whilst it was burning when the police fled Leeds. Wrong. When it came to Southport, again, they were saying straight away from the onset, this is a Muslim knife terrorist attack. Muslims are killing our kids. Muslims are killing our kids. That's what they were implying. They probably said it, some people online. And now we know that Muslims have nothing to do with that at all. Nothing to do with it. And what happened? Far-right thugs went up there and smashed up Stockport. They ruined it. So to add to the trauma of the family members in the community, they now had to clean up their streets because a bunch of far-right drunken hoodlums showed up and smashed the place. Do you know what I mean? who's lying? I mean, Brexit. I mean, where's the economic success? We were promised that from right wingers, weren't we? We were basically told that the country would have no immigration, no foreigners. It'd be a white paradise, streets laden with gold. We'd have all these economic opportunities. We'd be ruling the waves once again, apparently. Where's that promise gone? Where's that promise gone? So stop telling me that you're being lied to by foreigners and Islamists and Islam is the problem here, because Islam's not a threat to British society. I'm sorry, but far right extremism seems to be the biggest threat that this country faces right now. And one of the reasons it's a big threat is because it's brainwashing so many people and radicalizing them online.
And supported by the mainstream. Because like people talk about Islamic extremism, but we just don't have, I mean, sorry, I shouldn't say we, because I'm just playing into these conservative right-wing narratives. But right-wing extremism has a support structure. Right from, you know, the big parties in this country, the Tories, even Labour to a certain extent. And then they have Reform UK in Parliament that literally are the supporters of the far right. They have a media infrastructure that, when disseminated, reaches millions and millions of people every single day. Islamic extremists, if they exist, don't have that kind of infrastructure. So the government has taken its eye off the ball. It's been so focused on ISIS and Al-Qaeda because of a few terror attacks that have killed people. They have killed people, but by a tiny percentage of Muslims that don't represent all of us. Whereas this far right problem is getting out of control. The government has completely taken its eye off the ball, and they've allowed it to grow and grow and grow and fester and fester and fester. And we need to see action. You know, we can't just be talking and engaging with Muslims. We need to see arrests being made of prominent activists. We need to see people losing their social media voices. I would say we need to see GB News lose its broadcast license, because they've been whipping up hate for several years now, and Talk TV. We need a more responsible attitude from the more mainstream channels as well. It's just a root and branch cleansing of British society to expunge it of the far right. That's what's needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if people don't like the fact that this country has Muslims in it, if people don't like the fact that it has black and brown faces in it, if they want some kind of white utopian society or whatever it is, they want to go back to a time when foreigners weren't in the same street as them, then do you know what? Do us all a favour. Get out, go away, go somewhere else, go live in Iceland or Antarctica for all I care. There's plenty of white up there. There's white
Rwanda's got spaces
Go
available.
to Rwanda if you want. I don't care where you go. Just get out of my face. Get out of my society. Get out of my country. You know, you're not welcome here. If you're not going to be a productive member of this society, join up with Muslims and other people, immigrants who have come here and built this country up after World War II. And why do you think they're here? Why do you think people are here? Immigrants I'm talking about. It's because Britain desperately needed them after World War II. The country was destroyed, the manpower's down, a lot of them have been sent to the slaughter in Europe and elsewhere. So
and because they invaded our countries. Britain invaded our countries and made them unlivable.
So I'm sorry, don't stand here because you didn't do well at school or your community sucks because the government in this country doesn't care about the North, and start blaming black and brown people who've done nothing wrong. I don't know where else to go.
But I think we also should say...
Just get out. If you don't like it here, get out of the country.
Robert, I think we also should acknowledge... We should acknowledge that a lot of non-Muslims have come to solidarity with us as well. And they've been in the streets and they don't put up... It's not all British people we're talking about here. You know, yeah, I just think that point should be made.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's continue this. There's another voice who's been very active during this whole affair, all of the riots and stuff, and it's an interesting one. It's Andrew Tate.
Oh, right, yeah.
So Andrew Tate has got a big voice. He's always opinionated on everything. Yeah. He is a convert to Islam, but he's also said a lot of things which have been very offensive, and it actually seems to be offering some solidarity with I don't know what
Tommy Robinson
nationalist types during this whole affair. Let's play out a little clip now just to get a taste of some of the things he's been saying. He says an awful lot. But let's get a little taste now if I can find it. Here we are.
If you look at any geographical area on the planet, when men face losing their lands, eventually there's going to be some form of violence as they resist that. It's inside of every single man's DNA to fight for the land that he believes is his. We talk about this with Gaza, Israel right now. So I think it's kind of hypocritical to talk about how the Gazans have been repressed and the land is being taken from them by insane globalists, and then sit there and say, well, the British shouldn't complain that insane globalists are importing millions and millions of military-age males who intend on taking the land from them. Please understand, guys, I'm half black, half white, but the average white man doesn't feel safe to put his daughter out in the street anymore. In the country he pays taxes in. And he's paying taxes to pay for a hotel room for some random Muslim or Christian, some random Islamic Bangladeshi or Christian Rwandan to live for free while he works his ass off. You tell me these kind of people are not going to be mad?
I
Yeah,
don't know
grotesque.
where'd you start from.
I mean, just comparing it to Gaza, where literally you have a foreign occupier stealing the land and then murdering the people, comparing that to what's going on in Britain, where, you know, the Muslims and immigrants are still a small minority of the population, and we've come here legally. Like the vast majority of us have come here legally. To make that comparison is grotesque. I don't know whether we have the tweet of him with the boat and the.
I'll bring it up.
Yeah, we should see that. We should dissect that tweet. This is what has really offended people.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it. But carry on with your reaction.
Yeah, no. All I would say is that Andrew Tate has basically labelled migrants to this country as money grabbing, as violent, as dangerous, in the image that he posted that I think you're going to put up sooner rather than later. Basically a migrant in a boat with a knife in one hand and then money in the other hand. So I called him out over this. I think you did as well. I think Dilly did as well. But literally he is, yeah, there we go. So literally he is making crass generalizations about migrants to this country who the vast majority have come here because they're desperate, either desperate economically or they're fleeing countries which are at war or other kind of turmoil. And this is just a crass, racist generalization, which is unforgivable. Now, Andrew Tate, obviously he is somebody that we welcomed into Islam, as we should have done. And we gave him lots of husn done, lots of positive thoughts. We gave him the space, even though we knew that he was still saying problematic things, even though we knew that he had a dodgy past. But we just felt that as a new Muslim, he should have the space to become a better Muslim and a better person. And that process sometimes takes years.
Yeah.
There are lots of wonderful Muslims today who are still drinking alcohol years after they converted to Islam. And quite frankly, some of the major Sahaba, the greatest Muslims of all time, these are people that attempted to kill the Prophet. These are people that did horrendous things, buried their children, you know, some horrible things. Yet they went on to become some of the best people on earth. So we did the right thing. Now, unfortunately, some of our detractors, especially on the left, feminists, radical feminists, and Muslims who have mixed up all this radical feminism with their Islam, or some illiterate Muslims as well, they blamed us for initially welcoming Andrew Tate into Islam. They say platforming him. We actually never interviewed him, but we did interview some associates of him. We never promoted him. We absolutely never promoted him. We just said this is what he said, because him converting to Islam, one of the most influential people in the world, it's a massive news story. But we gave him that space, and it was obvious after 6 months, 7 months, that he wasn't improving. And then we started to call him out. Dilly Hussein in particular started to call him out. And that's been going on for a year now. But still, ignorant Muslims, illiterate Muslims, and Muslims that are infected with secular left-wing ideologies who don't care for the fact that we actually followed Islamic principles in our attitude to Andrew Tate, they're still calling us out over it. But that's to the side. The fact is that he is promoting the riots. He's instigating and promoting the riots. He might not be doing it himself, but he's certainly instigating it and playing the moon music to which these riots are taking place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just it's just still very strange, because I remember when I did my Shahada, and the year that followed that, it was a year of reflection, learning about Islam, implementing an Islamic lifestyle. And again, it took a while before I got into the swing of things. It was very difficult, and I basically did it on my own. So, you know, it was a real challenge. But I remember I really wanted an Islamic lifestyle. I really wanted to implement it, and I did my very best to do it in the good time frame, because I wanted it. I believed in it. I fell in love with Islam. I still am. And, you know, it took time, but you could clearly see the progress I made. And I wasn't like straight away going around talking about Islam publicly or anything. That media side of my work didn't come till many years later. But the fact is that Andrew Tate, with his big platform, I mean, he's just saying disgusting things, horrendous things, and I mean, it seems like he's taken advantage of a very patient, welcoming community here, and now I think many Muslims have just lost patience with him. He's getting criticised.
He needs to be held accountable. He needs to be held accountable because he has 9 million followers.
Yeah.
You know, he dwarfs Nigel Farage and all these other people. And he's a Muslim, which makes it hurt even more. I think he's just not surrounded by good people. If you're not surrounded by good people, even if you believe in your heart, you're in trouble. You need to surround yourself with good people. I think he's surrounded by degenerates.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that's no excuse after such a long time, especially when you've got access to online information like he has. I mean, he reads everything, he watches everything, and he keeps saying...
He's blocked us on 5 pillars.
He's blocked us, so he won't be reading our stuff anymore.
He doesn't want to be held accountable at all.
No, absolutely
at
not.
all.
And, you know, I mean, he talks about being a big man and all this type of stuff. Well, big men take responsibility for their actions, and they also grow up.
Yeah.
And they mature and they better themselves. If you're incapable of bettering yourself, then you're not a real man, in my opinion.
You need humility. I mean, an essential part of Islam is to have humility. And this guy has no humility. I'm boasting about he's a billionaire and how rich he is and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That stuff is
gross.
disgusting. It's gross and disgusting.
Stupid.
He needs to grow up. Obviously, he's been intoxicated by social media. And yeah, he just needs to grow up.
So before we move on from this, I want to talk a little bit about two things. One is that it's very interesting, isn't it, how so many of these instigators online, they're either pro-Israel or they've been to Israel, or I don't know, there's talk about them being funded by pro-Israel groups. I just wonder, like, what is going on here? Because Tommy Robinson, for me, is not a smart person.
No.
You know, he's not capable of these achievements of inciting some kind of civil war on his own. You know, I think there's something else going on here. I mean, out of nowhere, he's been brought back on X, so he's online now. And we, of course, know how Elon Musk is getting very, very close to Netanyahu as well. So, and he's pushing far-right accounts on Twitter. That's very, very clear. And now we're starting to see, remember, the Labour Party have come into power now, and they've started to implement some policies, promises, which, you know, Tel Aviv wouldn't look too kindly on. The ICC or the ICJ arrest warrants, they said they'll honour it if they were implemented, for example. Then coincidentally, all of a sudden, pro-Israel instigators are behind what's going on here. I don't know.
I don't know.
Is there something going on more than what
you mean like some kind of coordinated Zionist attempt to kind of push the far right?
Let me put it to you this way, Roshan. If Tommy Robinson was linked to Iran or Russia in the way that he actually is linked to Israel...
Oh, yeah.
They would be saying that Iran and Russia are trying to destroy Britain.
More would be made of it.
This is a state effort through state agents and provocateurs to create
they
civil
would be saying
strife.
that.
So why is it not being said when?
Well, obviously, because
the common factor here is
Israel is a holy cow in this country, isn't it? You can't criticize Israel. No, I think Zionists are clearly pushing, especially in America. They're funding and pushing Tommy Robinson.
I mean, just look at this picture. I mean, that speaks volumes to me.
Yeah.
I mean, what a coincidence. The
far right,
far right loudmouths that are cheering on.
All in Israel, all welcomed by Israel. I don't know whether it's a coordinated attempt or not, but all I know is that certain Zionists, especially America, are pushing these guys.
That's so dodgy, in my opinion. I mean, there's got to be more going on here. I do not believe that Tom Robinson is that capable, is that competent to get this far with what he's been doing.
I think Zionists might be split on this, actually, because I know that some of the Jewish Chronicle type Zionists have criticized this. They've criticized other Zionists for funding Tommy Robinson. So I think Zionists themselves, because obviously they have one goal, is that to protect Israel and to make Israel supreme, but they differ over the tactics. But the American Zionists are crazy. They're absolutely crazy. And they're openly Islamophobic and openly push these type of figures.
Yeah, but it's like, you could say that about the far right, they're divided. I mean, Nigel Farage has condemned Tommy Robinson. But,
has he?
Yeah, he has. Right. Yeah, he has. Nigel Farage doesn't rub shoulders with Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson has endorsed him during the elections.
Yeah.
But that's despite the fact that he's been slammed by Nigel Farage directly. Nigel Farage called him like a thug and a hooligan or whatever.
Farage is trying to save his own skin now, isn't he?
Exactly.
Because,
yeah. So you know, I don't think that that's a valid point. Just to say that they split on the issue doesn't mean that there's not something going on. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that point up. Perhaps we should go to the next topic, which is.
Can I just ask you before, because I've said what I want to see happen now in terms of action points. What do you want to see happen?
I think that I want to see water cannons out. I want to see tasers, pepper spray, tear gas, whatever it takes. Get these thugs, these violent, horrible, nasty characters off our streets. Someone's going to get killed, Roshan. Okay? They're trying to burn down hotels. They're physically attacking property. They're smashing people, throwing bricks through windows, and they're hunting down people in the street. These are pogroms. And the police are clearly overwhelmed. We might need the UN to come in. We might need the army on the streets. You know, the government, I think, has been caught totally unawares. I don't think they realise the severity of this situation. And I think that the police are in crisis mode. They can't deal with it. And if it continues to escalate, which the certain groups are trying to do online, we know they're trying to organise more demonstrations, someone's going to get killed. Someone's going to get killed. So get a grip.
And their support structure?
Scumbags.
And these are the scumbags, but what about their support structure?
Well, you want them to go after it. I mean, obviously, you want investigations done. You want people put away. I mean, they always go out. I mean, there was that Anjem Chowdhury. He's been put away, hasn't he, for life? I mean, the crimes that he's done is radicalising people, isn't he, and getting people.
He was accused of radicalising people and sending them to, or these people went to join ISIS and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, come on. I mean, the far right is also capable of great acts of terrorism as well. Do you know what I mean? So who's inciting and radicalising these people? And let's be honest. I mean, since Elon Musk took over Twitter, Twitter has clearly become more far right. I mean, he himself.
It's a double-edged sword, though, isn't it? Because he's also let Muslim voices. There's less censorship of Muslim voices on there as well.
I don't know. That's debatable. I mean, over the Palestine issue.
Not over. It's mainly Instagram and Meta that have been Facebook and Meta that have been censoring it, isn't it? Not so much Twitter.
But I mean, it's you know, obviously, I mean, we're pro free speech as well, but we're not pro incitement.
That's it.
I
I generally don't agree with calling for social media bans, even against people I vehemently disagree with. But I think when you cross the line into inciting violence, that's when you ban people. And Tommy Robinson's done that.
Looks like that's happening. Yeah. And I mean, Tommy Robinson was brought back under Elon Musk, so. Let's see. And there are many far-right accounts pushing fake news and misinformation on there, which is perhaps feeding into all these riots. So, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's move on to another very pressing story. Major developments happening in Bangladesh. The Prime Minister, who has ruled over the country for, I think, about 15 years, Sheikh Hasina, has basically, it's confirmed now she resigned and has fled the country amid widespread protests. Which I think was started off by a student movement and is now expanded. I must admit, I'm not very strong on Bangladesh and the situation over there, but obviously it is a massive story which deserves a lot of attention. Perhaps you could fill us in, Rachel.
Yeah, I'm not strong on Bangladesh either. I would encourage brothers and sisters to follow Dilly Hussain on Twitter in particular. And I think he uploaded something on the Five Pillars YouTube page a few weeks back, and I think he's going to update that as well. He's the expert on this story, so follow Dilly for expert comment. My general comments would be, alhamdulillah, mabruk to the brothers and sisters in Bangladesh, the student movement. They've won. They've overthrown a dictator. And, you know, Sheikh Hasina, she's basically a dictator. Bangladesh is a one-party dictatorship. The rule of law doesn't really exist there.
She's basically Indian-backed, I believe. That's something which I've heard.
Even they were using Israeli spyware not so long ago as well. So these are people without principles. They're secular fundamentalists. They're the kind of people running, you know, the campaign for Rushnara Ali in this country, you know, and you know, the secular Bangladeshi politicians in parliament. Tulip Sadiq's auntie, by the way, that's it. I wonder what she's got to say. But alhamdulillah, congratulations to the brothers and sisters in Bangladesh. They've been sending us information. They've been using Five Pillars to get their message out. Unfortunately, we probably haven't done the job that we should have done. An apology to the brothers and sisters in Bangladesh. We just need to grow as an organization and get more staff so that we can respond quicker. Yeah, apologies, brothers. But anyway, Mabruk, you did a great job. But just the worry is, we've seen this time and time again, whereby dictators fall, but what comes next is often worse. So I think they just have to find a way of getting a system in place which isn't just another military dictatorship, not another one-party dictatorship, where the views of all Bangladeshis can be represented.
Yes, we hope and pray for Bangladesh, definitely. I mean, I know from Bangladeshis who live here in the UK, they're a beautiful people. They love Islam. They give a lot to this society as well. You know, they're great business people, very business minded, that type of thing. Great food, great culture. So I really wish them all the best. I hope and pray this works out well for them, because I think it's one of those countries which has always deserved better than what it's got. You know, it deserves more prosperity and more position on the world stage. But you know,
I'm sure she'll be fine though. She'll probably have properties abroad and bank accounts abroad.
I bet. Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm sure she'll just whiz off into a life of luxury somewhere, Dubai or something. I don't know.
These types of power holding.
I mean, Chile Siddiqui, you might have a spare room in your mansion because your auntie might be coming to stay.
Yeah. Well, we'll leave it there. Just a reminder: check out Dilly Hussein, because he's the expert on this, and he's already produced some fantastic, informative content, and more is coming. So do check that out. I think he's also putting it on the Five Pillars website as well. Let's go to back to the Middle East.
Final topic today?
Final topic of the day. Basically, as I'm sure you're all aware, the political leader of the authority in Gaza was assassinated while he was visiting Iran. That's Ismail Haniyeh. Very, very peculiar circumstances surrounding his assassination. How was it done exactly? We don't know. The Iranians are coming up with a theory that he was shot at from a distance by a projectile. And they were unprepared to deal with it. But then there's also claims in Western media that a bomb was set in the building where he was located by Mossad-backed Iranian agents, and the bomb went off and killed him. Either way, I mean, there's all sorts of conspiracies going online. Some people are even saying that it was the Iranian job itself.
Inside job,
There are some people rubbishing that and saying, no, this was a Mossad thing. But even then, it's a little bit embarrassing, I think, because he was a guest in Iran.
Yes.
And Iran, he's an ally of Iran, and then he's get killed in Iran. So they can't even protect it. I mean, this comes after their own prime minister died. Their president, excuse me.
Who you think was killed by Mossad?
I think it was an assassination. That's been denied. The Iranians have never said that. But I mean, the fact is he died under very suspicious circumstances. And I mean, at least... Again, that's another embarrassment, because the Iranians couldn't keep their president alive on one of their choppers when he was doing a state visit to Azerbaijan and coming back. I mean, that's not good. And then we've got this senior Middle Eastern political figure, an ally of Iran, getting assassinated again on their territory. So at least it's embarrassing. At worst, it's one of these wild theories, like maybe Iran did it or whoever else did it. I mean, where do you stand, Roshan? Are you a conspiracy theorist on this one, or?
I mean, I think the first thing to say is we have to be careful of what we say, because we can't talk openly about this issue and freely, because Hamas is considered a terrorist organization in the UK. So we are censored about what we can say and can't say.
Group,
so we won't go into depth into this too much. It's very embarrassing for the Iranians, incredibly embarrassing. Do I think it was an inside job? I've seen prominent accounts say that it was an inside job, and I would say a lot of Muslims would agree with that. I think it's a load of rubbish. I think that's not true. I think there's no evidence for that. Ultimately, we can say whatever we want and come up with any theory we want, but there has to be evidence for that. And 1 and 1 equals 5 is not evidence for me. I have to have. I'm an evidence-based guy, and even when we were talking about the Iranian president being killed, I disagree with you, and I think the majority agree with you, the minority agree with me. Maybe it'll happen again, but I think that ultimately. Iran and Hamas have had a close relationship for decades. Hamas would not have been what it is today without Iran. They have a very close relationship. So it makes no sense for the Iranians to allow Ismail Haniyeh to be killed on their territory. Now, some people are saying Iran did a secret deal with Israel so they can de-escalate. But as far as I can see, they will have to escalate, not de-escalate. And even within Iranian establishment circles, and normally Iran is always looking to de-escalate. They don't want a war with Israel. They don't want a war with the West. I don't even believe they knew about October the 7th. I think that was an independent Hamas military operation. I don't think even Ismail Haniyeh knew, again, about October the 7th, by the way. I think that was literally a military decision taken on the ground inside Gaza. They will have to attack Israel directly, and that's what they're saying they're going to do. And that is going to lead to an escalation from Israel. So things are spiraling out of control now, but now I don't see how a wider war is avoidable. I think it has to happen. I think Iran may well choose. I mean, if they just do fireworks like they did last time and signal an attack is taking place and allow Britain and America and Israel to shoot down their fighter jets, one or two get through, but it's just a theatre. If they do that again, they'll be laughed out of town by their own supporters. So I think it has to be a much wider ranging attack. But I think the question for the Iranians is how big can this attack be without it provoking an all-out war type reaction from Israel? So I'm expecting a larger attack from Iran anytime now. Could happen anytime.
Because it wasn't just the killing of Haniyeh in Iran. There was also an attack on Beirut, which killed
Senior commander of Hezbollah.
Absolutely, another key ally
Yeah.
of Iran as well. So this was a very brazen attack. This was very strong. It's a strong message that Israel was sending to Iran. And like you say, Iran's now forced. They have to do something. I mean, if they do absolutely nothing,
And something a lot
that's
bigger
great
than last
show of
time.
weakness.
Yeah.
What could that be? What could that be?
Well,
How could Iran up
that's
it?
what I'm saying.
What
I mean,
do you expect to
their
see?
options obviously is to activate their allies in the region, like the Houthis. They could maybe shut down part of the Bab al-Mandeb, I think it's called.
We've seen
we
that
could-
type of stuff before, though. That's not new.
Yeah, I'm just going through scenarios here. I don't know what they're going to do. Hezbollah obviously have a much bigger military arsenal than Hamas. They could rain down rockets on civilian areas in Tel Aviv, or they could go for civilian infrastructure. I think it's unlikely that they're going to go for civilian areas, but they might go for civilian infrastructure like bridges, like electricity plants, stuff like that. So just escalate it up one notch.
Do you think
obviously we have?
Do you think we could see a massive, like, all-round attack? Because I think
I think there will be a direct attack from Iran to Israel. That will definitely happen.
Do you think that Iran, Hezbollah, Gaza, Yemen could all attack Israel at the same time in a massive coordinated?
I'm expecting something like that. I'm expecting Iran to attack Israel directly, but also to activate its allies with secondary attacks. That's what I'm expecting.
Because I don't think the Iron Dome defense system that Israel has been tested to that extent. I mean, Iran were testing it, I think, with their last display of an offensive. You know, they fired rockets from long distance, quite a large number of them over a sustained period of time. Wasn't very effective, but I guess it was testing the water to see how effective it was. And apparently some of them got through.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The Iron Dome is classed as being impregnable, but actually it seems like a massive rocket onslaught. Quite a few would get through, especially if it came from all directions. So
I think that's what will happen.
Has Iran got the guts to go that far, even at this stage with everything?
I think they're in a very difficult situation internally, because obviously they have to look at their internal politics. That's what really matters to them, and their own supporters are saying it has to be a massive attack. So if they don't do a massive attack, they undermine their own position internally in Iran. That's why I think there will be a big attack. And the question is, how big will it be? And will it provoke a massive Israeli retaliation? Which in turn will have to provoke another retaliation. And then we get into an uncontrollable situation, which literally is a major war.
When's it going to happen? I mean, it's been a while now, isn't it? Do you think?
I think the Iranians are calibrating their response. They're thinking about it very carefully. I don't expect something to happen. I think it happened quite quickly last time, didn't it? Simply because the Iranians knew exactly what they would do. They would warn allies. They basically warned the Americans and the Israelis through Iraq last time, through Iraq and Turkey. This time, I think it would be more of a surprise. I expect it could be a couple of weeks, perhaps even longer, before it actually happens. I think they're deliberately trying to keep the Israelis on tenterhooks so that it will be a surprise attack, not a choreographed one this time. But what do you think, brothers and sisters? I think the majority of you, I think there's a lot of hatred for Iran out there, to be honest, but by Sunni Muslims, because of what happened in Iraq and Syria. And they blame Iraq for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people in Iraq and Syria, mainly Sunni Muslims. And therefore, the Sunni community, which I'm a part of, and obviously, you know, we are Sunni Muslims as an organisation here at Five Pillars. You know, they are very bitter towards Iran, But I think personally, sometimes that bitterness spills over into blaming Iran for stuff that they didn't do. I think we always must be logical and measured. Even if we're emotional about things we should be emotional about, we still have to remain logical and measured.
Yes, for sure. I think, again, this just re-emphasizes the point that Israel's out of control here. You know, they're not just genociding in Gaza, they're actually attacking other countries as well. I mean, the economy's getting damaged, if that's all you're going to care about. I mean, the Red Sea situation. The West can't handle this. You know, the empire is in its latter days. You know, it can't control this. They can't stop the Houthis blockading the Red Sea. They can't control it. They can't... I mean, they are terrified, I think, deep down of a massive regional escalation, because it's going to be American assets in the region that's going to get targeted too. Do you think the Iranians are going to leave the oil resources in Saudi and the UAE alone?
Oh, in Saudi and the UAE they will, but not necessarily in the Gulf region, the Persian Gulf. They're not going to. I don't think they're going to open a front with Saudi Arabia or UAE.
In a full regional war where Iran's fate is in the balance. You don't think they'll target the.
Oh yeah, no. If their back is against the wall, then they will launch every single attack conceivable.
Because that's what we're facing here. I mean, let's get the worst case scenario. It won't just be Iran
I think
Israel.
They will.
It won't just be Iran Israel. America will come swanning in. The UK will come tagging along like a little poodle, as we always do. And Iran has got to hit hard, and they will. And one of the ways they can do it is to shut down the Persian Gulf.
Yeah.
Hit the oil assets. Shut down international trade of oil. Damage the Western economy. That's what they're going to do, and I think that they will definitely attack Saudi, the Arabs. That it will be crazy. It'll be ballistic missiles in all directions.
Not in the short term, but I think that
this is what Israel might do for us. By the way, Israel might create this scenario for us.
Yes,
that's what we've got.
I think Netanyahu's looking to do.
We risk World War III, Roshan. World War III could be round the corner. And who's going to start? It's Israel.
Yeah.
Because they want to get away with genocide, they are prepared to destroy the planet. That's what I believe. They are willing to go all out. They're the ones with the nukes. They'll use it if they have to. This is a crazy regime.
Yeah.
And I think the West has to get a grip, just like these rioters have gone nuts here. The British.
I don't hold out any hope.
We need to get a grip on Israel, because that is a mad.
I don't hold out any hope that the West is going to get a grip on Israel, Robert. You know. They've proved that they are willing to back these genocidal maniacs to the hilt. I've got no hope in the British government or the Americans or anybody like that. So I think we might well be dragged into World War III. Yes, it's a definite possibility. But I do think the Iranians, they're very calculating. There's always this expression, you must have heard it, the Iranians are playing chess while everyone else in the region, they're playing checkers. I mean, they like to publicize that as well to makes them look good. But I think they are looking to calibrate a bigger attack in a way which does not escalate into World War III. So they are actually they're quite pragmatic as a regime. Israel is the one that is going for the all-out war option. I think that is mainly Netanyahu to save his own skin. Literally Netanyahu, not just Israel, but Netanyahu is looking to create a scenario where it's all-out war, which everyone will lose, and so will Israel. I mean, if it's an all-out war, I mean, Israel's a tiny country, right? So with a tiny population. So I think if it is an all-out war, all right, you could plausibly argue that Lebanon will be wiped out, Iran, whatever, but so will Israel. Israel will be wiped out, for sure. And these countries like Iran, they have massive populations, massive territory, so they will recover. Will Israel recover? But unfortunately, if Israel gets wiped out, so do the Palestinians. So obviously it's a scenario we want to avoid.
It's a very tense time, definitely. Definitely leave your comments in the comment section below. I'd really appreciate listening and reading everything that you think about what we've said, and also what you think about the future, the region as a whole, what's happening here in the UK, how things will go with the far right here in this country. Do tell us and let us know. And also do let us know if there's anything happening in your area that we should know about. I've heard many stories being shared of apparently racist attacks, assaults, damage to property that's happening on a local scale that's not being widely reported or going viral on social media. This needs documenting. So anything, stories or footage that you want out there that's happened to you, do send it over to 5 Pillars. Our email can be found on the website, and you can also contact us via social media as well. We do read our
send us, not just send us. Not only do we need your eyes and ears on the ground, because it's actually very hard to actually document what's going on, because these protests and violent thuggery is happening in different places spontaneously, and we can't be everywhere at the same time. So we need your videos, send us your videos, but we also need your testimonies. So if you've got something to say, film yourself saying it, send it over to us, and the best ones, the clean ones, we'll broadcast it to millions of people, inshallah.
Absolutely, inshallah. So yeah, do stay in touch, and we wish you all the best. Do take care out there, guys, because it's a very dangerous time we live in. And yeah, I think these people are hunting down Muslim sisters as well. People who wear hijab, be very, very careful. And men, be prepared to defend your homes, your families, and your mosques as well. But of course, don't also fall into the trap. Let's not go to their disgusting level of thuggery. We're better than that. That's not the teachings of Islam. So let's use this as an opportunity maybe for a bit of dawah as well. Let them destroy their own communities if they want. Let's be guardians of our community.
I think
Good,
we need
honourable,
to defend ourselves and our communities robustly. But we don't need to go on the attack. We don't need to start hunting down people. I'm not saying that's happening, but you know, obviously these things can spiral out of control.
Yeah.
But we should robustly defend ourselves, our mosques, and our communities if attacked.
Be vigilant, be cautious, but be restrained. And just remember the teachings of Islam there as well. Inshallah. Well, thank you very much, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel immensely. And until next time, it's ma salam, assalamu alaikum for now.